Untouched by fear or pain, they lived each minute with the utmost joy, till the cursed wave did rise, tearing through the dusky skies, consuming light and dark in kind, and leaving none to mourn behind. So to the east the sprites did flee, though burdened by the tragedy. The truth was all too plain to see. One by one their kind would fall beneath the torrent of the wave, if none could stand before its gaze, and somehow fill that endless void. King of light and queen of dark, Epeiron and Helba knew of one who might defeat the wave. A mythic beast that longed to sleep 'neath the edge of the world's end, sheathed by the wavering peninsula, a creature of the greatest might, the sacred dragon of twilight. Thus Queen Helba chose Bith the Black, her strongest sprite, to join the quest, while Epeiron sent Fili the White to journey with them in his stead. For Bith and Helba thought it best that the king remained behind to rule and calm the ever-spreading dread ere the dragon might appear. So as the three prepared to ride through the aqua gate of Mackinaw, a fourth did come by fate's command. One part human, one part sprite, alone for all his nameless might, he fell in stride with Helba's steed as she wordlessly agreed. His will was worthy of their cause. Through the fatal bog they sped, as onyx dust cloaked each in turn, from which arose a blinding pall, a living shadow born to crawl betwixt reality and mind, till death within them was enshrined. Each was shown their comrade slain, illusions of Skaith's mortal game. Fili wept and knelt to pray, while Bith did halt in stunned dismay, ere turning back upon the path, desires crushed by failure's wrath. The halfling tore about the swamp, searching for the fount of death, whose noxious fog had claimed the lives of those who'd stand against the wave. Alone, the dark Queen Helba rode, remorseless through the baneful mire, cursing the wave as she progressed, bent solely on her noble quest. And as she went, the darkness lifted, till she found her friends still living, mounted on their stagnant steeds, as if enchanted by some dream. Calling forth an ancient rune, the queen dispelled the evil bind. Thus Skaith's hold was undermined, and as he slowly evanesced, each realized they'd been possessed, while Helba foretold a prophecy of 8 heralds with demon's blood, 8 phases of the cursed wave. As the boggy mud grew dry, Guile Mountain rose before them, a deadly, oft-avoided peak, the swiftest route to Dunloriag, for eons standing as a god, o'erlooking men with its face, while hiding at its center true, a molten pit of which none knew. As they neared the summit's height, something waited midst their course, a chimera of the greatest size, with slate blue malefic eyes, exuding lust for their demise. Then 2, then 4, then all around, the aberrations capped the ground, till hundreds stood in perfect stillness. Charging forth as one they came, with rumbling fury at the fore, who held a circle back to back, slaying beasts as they attacked. Though as the horrors met their deaths, each vanished with its dying breath, unfleshly as a wayward thought, but for the bloody wounds they wrought. Thus the ceaseless battle waged. As each fiend fell, another came, till Bith cried out in dire need. A lone chimera must be real. The others conjured effigies, doppelgangers born to please their lord and master as slaves, incarnations of the wave. Deeming true the dark knight's words, Feely beseeched her allies three for time to let her mind's eye see. Hence minutes passed as Feely prayed, ere she raised her longbow high, and let a single arrow fly, piercing clouds upon the sky, as though the shaft were blessed by God. Falling with a feather's grace, the missile knew whom to embrace, and like a tear from heaven shed, smote its wrath on the demon's head, laying to waste the vile horde. As Enis's power left the peak, 6 words of spite he cruelly gave. You shall never stop the wave. Past the mount they traveled far, through Dunloriag, the highland town, till they reached the woods of Briade, where lay a mark for all to heed, a sphere enclosed by myriad lines, one of many traveler signs, known by the halfling doubtlessly. A labyrinth confronts beyond. Foraging down countless paths, each branch producing 2 alike, they hastened forth without event, till Helba sensed a foul intent, and turning, to her wonder found a creature posing as a man, exquisite in his nakedness, a mold no human could possess. With arms spread wide, the demon smiled, and Helba watched as though beguiled, while fallen twigs grew into trees, forming fast a wooden shield, unyielding to the fiercest blow. Then shrieks about the forest rang, as any beast with claw or fang descended on the narrow trail. Besieged by creatures of the wood, they battled against undying foes. Each pair slain would recompose, birthing 4 at instant pace, as Magus watched with grinning glee, entombed within his wall of trees, which faster grew than could be hewn, a trait which spelled the hero's doom. Thus the exulting onslaught went, till Nameless conceived a final hope, and drawing out a flask of spirits, hurled it at the barricade, then blazed a spark, with blade on blade, setting to light a rampant fire, a majestic funeral pyre, felling the wall atop its maker. Soon Briade was but a memory, overshadowed by the floral city, Carmina Gadalica by name, of genteel and aesthetic fame, though swiftly too it fell behind, as Moira Cannon darkly loomed, foreboding in its desolation ere the crossing had begun. Hours after the presaged end of that bleak and lengthy trek, Moira's cliff still stood aside, mocking each benumbing stride, till Bith remarked in somber phrase they'd passed the same formations thrice, spun by some malign device, so deftly one might never know. Having spake his solemn fear, a haunting voice then prophesied,
Your graveyard shall this chasm be, for here you will remain with me, helpless as the wave consumes everything you've ever known, leaving naught behind but bone and fading whispers upon the wind.
Searching for escape in vain, they rode the passage once again, but Fidgel's brazen promise held. Nowhere could the cliffs be scaled, and though their course did never veer, while racing through the corridor, they came to camp just as before, overcome by nauseous dread. Dispel charms proved fruitless too, till Bith called for womanly aid, requesting they enchant his blade. Then slowly marching down the path for hours when he sensed at last the entrapping portal's edge, driving hard his sword to earth, raising Fidgel's sorcery. Long past the crucible of Moira, they sheltered in a citadel. Fort Oof, so said its denizens, where mind and body could be cleansed of any hardships one endured, ere disembarking further north, over the barren vacious plain, where most who crossed it would remain. The horses thrived on unmarked land, rejoicing in those countless miles, till suddenly in concert halting, as ebon vapors coalesced, at Gore's inhuman behest, forging whole his grotesque form, a tetra-legged mass of hate, obscured midst a foul haze. With putrid limbs the demon lashed, immense weight thrown behind each strike. Through both guard and shield alike the blows did wound unless evaded, while each assault the heroes launched was somehow violently repelled. Sheathed in armor, craft of malice, the creature stood immune to challenge. Battling with their utmost might, each soon grew weary from the fight, when Feely grazed the demon's hide and felt its overwhelming sadness. No longer could abhorrence lie within her for the wretched fiend. 'Twas but a puppet of the wave, devised to delve for each a grave. As pity laced her heavy heart, Feely strode towards the beast, whose crushing limbs were now repulsed ere they touched her ivory skin. When came she nigh with rapier drawn, a single thrust did slay its brawn, for mercy guided Feely's blade where scorn could never penetrate. In time they reached Leafail, exhausted to the breaking point, where healers did their wounds anoint, while speaking of the land beyond. Nemesis was the desert's name, devoid of life's too fragile flame, though offering hope ever so slight. The journey's end was now in sight. Once their strength had been regained, a woman of unmatched beauty came, and standing in the village square, with naught to clothe but flowing hair, she beckoned with an outstretched hand, as her siren song did ring throughout the quiet frontier town, calling both the knight and halfling. Doused by some seducing force, Helba charged to find the source, but like Feely arrived too late. Bith and Nameless stood, entranced by Matcha's all-enticing spell, with which she did their blades compel to set upon the women with whom they journeyed for so long. Knowing well the quest would fail if any were to perish here, they could but dodge each fierce attack, unwilling to counter back, neither could Matcha be harmed. Protected by her servants too, no assault could carry through. Such was the witchcraft's passion. In desperation Helba cast a seldom sober sorcery. The banshee's cry for a moment's wailed, annuling the demon's hymn, and sealing Matcha's fate therein. For that lone unhindered instant was all the Dark Queen needed to cut the bare seductress down. So bidding to the town farewell, they forged ahead through Nemesis, uncrossed by any to return. The arid distance was too great, yet they went without debate to find whatever might await, knowing one predestined fact: they'd not last the journey back. Past untold dunes the horses ran, till any sense of time was gone, and each grew jadedly withdrawn, when, rising from the sands ahead, a small oasis lay outspread, water sparkling through the heat, beneath a single God-sent tree, worth tenfold its weight in gold. First they drank as never before upon the tiny desert shore, but found in frantic disarray just 2 fruits about the tree. Soon both queen and halfling claimed their sex deserved the greater share, while Feely spoke with fixed glare, equal parts were truly fair. Bith alone did not take part, for something gnawed upon his heart, coming clear as swords were drawn when words alone would not suffice. Plunging through bark and wood his axe, a shriek of fury tamed the fight as the haven left their eyes. Thus Tarvos met his swift demise. Presently the thirst awoke as the demon's magic broke, but soon their spirits soared anew. Sand gave way to fluid ground, a joyous omen that they'd found the wavering peninsula, awash with instability such as none had ever seen. Colors shimmered round the cape, blending aimlessly together, while hoofbeats danced about the land like echoes of a mindless band. But all too soon this chaos paled, in contrast to the final phase. Before the stone of destiny, Corbinic stood in mockery. Titanic was his human form, eyes alight with vicious scorn, as he advanced with roaring strides, and spoke in truly humbling voice. You've journeyed far and suffered much to perish by my flawless touch, for as now you shall plainly see, no sprite exists to stand against me. Ere the final word had died, a pulse erupted from his hand, which all but one could not withstand. Nameless stood in disbelief, as Helba, Bith, and Feely fell unconscious to the shifting earth. Saved by halfling blood alone, he'd fight this demon on his own. Enraged that any dared resist, Corbinic charged into the duel with staggering ferocity, bent towards his enemy, who spun ever elusively away from each leaden blow, requiting with his lustrous blades like some pernicious serenade. Despite the halfling's surest strike, Corbinic offered no respite, for even as his steel drew blood, the lesion seamlessly would heal, till a voice in him confided, "Your weapons cannot harm this fiend. Fight with those attached to life to break his immortality." Unequaled was the Dark Queen's verve. So taking up her royal sword, and yearning for true faith's reward, nameless vaulted o'er his foe, driving the blade through flesh below, and landing on the other side, as the demon fell beside, both motionless for a time. Soon burning with hellish fire, the fiend rose in satanic form, as the halfling heard once more. A weapon in accord with death will cleave this monster's dying breath. Thus endowed by Bith's great axe, he snuffed Corbinic's second life, though doubt within him now grew rife. From ash the demon rose again, empowered by the pure heart, and soaring high with angels' wings, as Nameless brandished Feely's bow, firing volleys at each chance, till the fiend could fly no more, and beaten to its very core, fell to earth one final time. Once the sprites had reawakened, the voice resounded in their minds. You have my sincerest praises for vanquishing the wave's 8 phases, each imbued with twisted souls collected by their maker, each a brutal incarnation embodying the psyche. Scathe, the terror of death, composed of deepest mortal fear, his morbid whisper silenced cheer. Enis, the mirage of deceit, cloaked within a deadly guise, one must see truth amidst his lies. Magus, the propagator, in his presence species thrive, ever able to survive. Fidgel, the prophet, predicating hopeless fate to crush your will beneath its weight. Gore, the machination, enrobed by vicious cruelty, immune to all but sympathy. Matcha, the temptress, manifesting love and lust to charm even the most robust. Tarvos, the avenger, envy and vengeance are the tools with which he transforms men to fools. And Corbinic, the rebirth, first compelled by all life's riches, then drawn towards the reaper's scythe, before ascending to the skies on gusts of immaculate intent. When this world was barely born, the wave and I did battle here, for eons at the same frontier, clashing once with utmost strength, our bodies spread across the land, seeding all that now exists. Substance did my form provide, and he the spirit held inside. I've waited for your coming since, a specter sealed beneath this stone, without a shape to call my own. Thus I must entreat you all to pay this last, most grievous cost. Return to me what I have lost, that I might give my life to save those remaining from the wave. Each laid their hands upon the stone, vanishing as the dragon rose in magnificent repose, feeding off his former tomb, now serving as a holy womb. The peninsula soon faded too, among the saddest kinds of loss, gone ere it could be forgotten. In a breath the dragon flew back to besieged Mac anew, where all the mages of the land had trenched their only stand at the battered aqua gate, to stay the wave in fervent hope that the quest would yet succeed, as Apeiron had once decreed. Streaming forth in sheer delight, the twilight dragon met the wave, twirling round his adversary, till inextricably entwined, they momently shone as one, like a swiftly dying sun, whose embers flare with glory bright, before it's taken by the night. When the aura dissipated, wave and dragon both were gone, though joy came not to Apiron. He knew this victory's true price, the last and greatest sacrifice, which Hilba and her friends had made at land's end so far away, for every voice that now did cheer. Sprites have long since lost their wings, as they did their innocence, the timeless dusk in which they lived, and perhaps of all the saddest, of Helba and her servant Bith, of Feely and the halfling too, no memories remain but this, the Epitaph of Twilight.
For Emma Wyland,